I have Ben Burrowes here, Regional Director of Asia for Education New Zealand. Thank you for joining us.
Cheers, Rosie. Good to be here.
Thank you. Would you be able to kind of talk to us about kind of the state of the international market, how they're perceiving New Zealand at the moment? What are you kind of finding?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting time. Obviously, coming out of COVID, just gone a year that our borders reopened for international students and visitors. I think we've seen the demand for New Zealand is still there. What we saw through COVID, we were able to build relationships in a virtual space, at the school level, at the tertiary level. We worked through COVID, built those foundations. So the love for New Zealand is still there, which has been fantastic to see. So my responsibility is Southeast Asia, India, Korea and Japan. So we're still seeing a lot of demand for New Zealand, a lot of interest. So we're sort of rebuilding and looking forward to the future.
And what do you think that education providers across New Zealand need to be considering right now when they think about how can they get more students coming into the country?
Yeah, I think it's having a clear strategy, knowing what their key message is, and also having a clear idea on the specific market they're trying to recruit from. It's very easy to group Asia into one region where the markets are so nuanced. So having an understanding of their key selling point, what messages resonate, what channels to use to reach those key decision makers, and just being confident in the story they're trying to tell.
There's been quite a bit of chatter around institutions setting up campuses in country, students wanting to do hybrid learning, pathways into institutions. What are you kind of seeing trends-wise in that space?
Yeah, I mean, I think if there was any silver lining through COVID is that we saw an acceleration in that space from New Zealand providers. I think out of necessity, they couldn't bring students in, so they had to innovate. So not so much brick and mortar campuses, but joint partnerships, twinning programs, articulation arrangements. So that really grew during COVID, and I think that will only continue, which I think is fantastic. I think we've heard through this conference that it's inevitable we have to continue doing that. I think it's also a fine balance that we need to strike. A big part of our proposition in New Zealand is the student experience they have living here physically, everything they can enjoy outside of the classroom. So obviously you can't replicate that offshore, but bringing that genuine New Zealand learning experience offshore, I think, is critical.
We know that a lot of students sometimes, speak about wanting to move into metro cities, but what advice do you have to kind of get students moving through the regions of New Zealand?
Yeah, delivering that authentic New Zealand experience in some of our more regional areas of New Zealand is, particularly at the school level, I think that's an amazing opportunity for students, whether it's at the school level going into a homestay experience. And actually, there's two sides of the coin, right? So if you're in Auckland, where it's very multicultural and they can, work and learn alongside students from all other countries, and you can go into the smaller provinces of New Zealand where it's Kiwi, very Kiwi, and living with local families. So a big objective for the New Zealand government is to bring that diversification. I mean, prior to COVID, we had, I think, over 60% of international students in Auckland. So it's a big driver for us to spread the love around New Zealand. And for us, particularly in those smaller towns, we want our young Kiwi kids to be global citizens. We want them to learn alongside people who bring completely different perspectives to their own different cultures, different religions, just different ways of learning. So that's a big driver for us as well.
Epic. Ben from Education New Zealand, thank you very much.
Oh, good. Thanks, Rosie.